Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of A Gardener's Journey Homestead. I am Barbara, and today is a hard video for me. I want to talk about loss on our farm, and I haven't done a video about that, but this one is pretty close to home. And I'll tell you, I'm shooting this video, one, to kind of get it off my chest, but then also I'm sure that other people have experienced the same thing, and I'll tell you that even gardening doesn't, I don't even feel like gardening today. So that's saying a whole lot. So anyway, I thought I would shoot this video. And I hope that I'm not screaming at you. As you guys know, I'll kind of give you the backstory. I've been traveling a lot this month. I'm finally home. We have 2 trips in June, but literally in May, I was on a plane 4 times out of the month. And I think out of 31 days, I was only home like 12 of those days. So May was a pretty hard, or has been a pretty hard and tough month in terms of just traveling, being at home. And the fact that I was able to keep up my YouTube, nothing but the grace of God. But I hope that I'm not screaming at you, because I came back earlier this week, and I came back under the weather, so to speak. Like my body feels fine, but my ear is stopped up. It's been stopped up for like 48 hours since the plane ride. And I went to the doctor. They said I have a ton, like she just kept saying, you have a ton of fluid in your ear. And my ear still has not popped. I have tried everything. I've tried yawning. I've tried chewing gum. I've tried steam treatments. And so I really, it feels like I'm underwater or in a fog. So I really don't know how loud I'm talking. And I can't hear out of this side. So I say that on the front end, but my body feels fine, except I just don't have a lot of energy. So I'm sure, and again, I don't normally get sick, but this past year in 2024, I think this is my 3rd time having something. So my immune system is definitely down, and it's probably just due to a lot of travel, a lack of rest, and a lot of stress or whatever. But that's not what this video is about. So I want to tell you that our dog Sunica passed away while we were gone. And man, y'all, it's hard. And I want to kind of just give you a backstory. And again, if you have animals, you know your animals become like your family, right? And so when you lose an animal, as silly as it may seem, you really grieve. And this one is really hard for me. So if you're brand new here, we're in Tennessee, we're in zone 7. And the only animals we have on our farm, we originally, when we started, I guess YouTube or whatever, we had 2 dogs, 2 cats. One of our cats ran away, and then one of our cats we had to put down. I want to say that was late last year. I don't even remember. That was Simba. And that one was hard. And that was really, we had gotten the cats from my daughter because she loves cats. And so that one was hard. And so that left us with our 2 dogs, Sunica, which is a South African Mastiff, and then Max, who is our black lab. And so let me just kind of give you the backstory and of why this is equally difficult. So kind of what happened, again, this was not expected at all. And you guys have seen Sunica on videos, just big, vivacious, full of life. And I think Sunica was 7. So Sunica is a South African Mastiff, and we actually got her from Africa. So we went in with one of our friends and bought Sunica. At the time, he was breeding South African Mastiffs, and so we went in together on this one. As you know, they're really pricey. And so she actually came over from Africa on a plane, and we picked her up in Atlanta. I'll try to pop some pictures up here. And that was literally 7 years ago to the day that she almost passed away. We got her May 24th, 2017. So at the time when we went in on Sunica, we went in half on her, but knowing that she was going to eventually end up being our dog. But remember, in 2017, we were still living in the city. We were not in the country. And so our friend kept her for us And then the plan was if we ever moved to the country, we were going to get her. But if not, then we would just see her when we would come up and visit and all that good stuff. So that was in 2017. Fast forward, we moved to the country in July of 2019. And then Sunica came to our property later, like a few months after that. So she's been with us like on the property for 5 years almost. And in terms of the backstory, I grew up deathly afraid of dogs, like deathly. It could be a 5-pound dog barking and your girl would be up on top of the roof. Like, I was deathly afraid of dogs because when I was 6 years old, around that time, I was at a friend's house and we went outside to play, and the dog next door got loose and chased me. It was I don't know if it was a pit bull, Doberman Pinscher, I don't know. It was something scary to a 6-year-old, and I didn't grow up around dogs. But the dog chased me and was just very vicious. I didn't get bit, but it really just kind of scarred me where I was deathly afraid of dogs. Like, afraid. Like, I don't care if it was 5 pounds, I am running for my life. And so when my husband and I got married, he was like, you really need to get over your fear of dogs. And I was like, yeah, I don't know how that's gonna work. And he said the way to get over your fear is to get a dog. And I was like, no sir, no thank you, because again, deathly afraid. So anyway, he talked me into getting a dog. And that was I want to say we had been married maybe a year or so. So I've been married 26 years. So this is 25 years ago. And so he ended up, he said, you need to get a dog for my puppy. And that way you will get over your fear of dogs. So we ended up going to get a dog. We got a 6-week-old black lab. And y'all, we went and picked out the puppy, and you should have seen me there. Like, I'm like I don't want them around my feet. I don't want them touching me. I mean, they're 6-week-old puppies. They're just, I mean, they're playing and they're just vivacious. I didn't want any part of it. But anyway, we ended up getting the dog. Her name was Lady. On the way home, it was like a 25-minute ride. Of course, I had to hold the dog. And it's so funny thinking about that now because literally I'm in the car, he's driving. We're taking her to our apartment at the time. And she's just moving all around. And I'm just like, oh, what am I supposed to do? He was like, just pet her. She's fine. Like, it's okay. Or whatever. I'm just like, I hadn't been around him. I hadn't touched him. I didn't know what to do. It was just like odd or whatever. Well, fast forward, obviously, within 2 to 3 days, I got used to touching her, holding her, feeling her. And of course, you know, when you bring dogs home, they cry for their mom, like the first, 2 or 3 nights. So those first 2 or 3 nights, remember, this is before kids. So those first 2 or 3 nights were really bad. I didn't get any sleep. I'm like, who does this? Like, why is this dog crying? Like, what is going on? But at the same time, I didn't realize I was getting attached. So about 3 nights went by, and then she stopped crying. And then, we went on life ever, after. And we had Lady for, I think, 12 years, right? And we ended up having to put Lady down. That was the first time I had to put a dog down. And Lord have mercy, I cried and I cried and I cried and I cried. So Lady was my first dog. Then we got Max, who's another black lab, and Max is still with us, and then Sunica. So you guys have seen Sunica on my video. So bringing you current. So I left to go out of town, and I was headed to Washington. I had to speak in Washington on this leadership panel. And so I saw Sunica before I left. She was fine. I noticed that she had been a little lethargic, but basically she slept a lot during the day and she would be up at night. That's when she would kind of protect the property, hunt, roam, that whole thing. So I didn't think anything of it, but because that was kind of just normal behavior. But I saw her when I left and she was fine. That was on a Tuesday. On Wednesday evening, I was talking to my husband and he said, hey, we had to rush Sunica to the vet. And I'm like, wow, what's going on? He was like, she was bleeding. And I was like, really? I'm like, okay, she was just fine. He was like, yes, she's bleeding or whatever. And so we took her to the vet. So that was Wednesday evening. We were, as a family, scheduled to leave to go out of town the very next day on Thursday. So I'm in Washington. I left on Tuesday. Sunica goes to the hospital on Wednesday evening. I fly back home on Thursday morning, which was the original part of the plan, to come home, unpack, repack for us all to go out of town together. My husband had a ministry trip where he had to speak at a youth conference. So I come home on Thursday. She's still in the vet. By this time, the vet has said, hey, she has Lyme disease, right? She had a lot of ticks, which we live in the country. There's going to be ticks or whatever. We pull ticks off of her all the time. Right, we had not kept up with the, what do you call it, the Bravecto, like the flea and tick, so that's, you know, on us. We hadn't kept up with, you know, the dosage of that, but again, didn't think anything of it, because I mean, y'all, we're out in the country, all right? There's always ticks, but we had pulled several ticks off her, so we had never thought, you know, no big deal. But anyway, somehow she got Lyme disease. Now keep in mind, we were scheduled to leave that Thursday night. So the doctor said, you know, we need the bleeding to stop. The bleeding has subsided, but it's still not stopped yet. So we were forced with, hey, we're about to leave and go out of town. It doesn't make sense to bring her home because nobody's going to be here to watch her. Now, we have people coming to feed the dogs and make sure they're okay in terms of food and water, but nobody's going to be here. So we said, hey, let's leave her at the vet. And she's like, oh, the vet said, that's perfect. That is great. That way we can monitor her. No big deal. Now, keep in mind, I haven't seen her since I left. And so I'm nervous. I'm like, Lord, please don't let my dog die while I'm gone. And my husband's like, she's fine. It's going to be fine, right? So fast forward, we leave. We head to California. And so we get to California on Friday afternoon. We hear from the vet. She said, hey, her blood count is improving. The bleeding has, you know, subsided. So I think we are in good shape. And I'm like, praise the Lord. Thank you so much. Awesome. Fantastic. And so I go into these California meetings with my husband into the weekend with a sense of peace that my dog is going to be okay. Right. So fast forward, the vet calls Saturday night, which I knew was not a good sign. And so they came in again. This is Memorial Day weekend. So they came in and checked, you know, how they normally do with the animals. And on Saturday night, they said, hey, her bleeding has not stopped and it should be stopped by now. And we did her blood count. I think her blood was like at 17. And they said, we're going to do an emergency blood transfusion. I'm like, okay. And they said, we'll know by in the morning if the blood transfusion worked. I'm pretty, confident that it will, blah, 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 or whatever. So on Sunday morning, they call again and they said, hey, her blood count only went up from 17 to 18.5 with the blood transfusion. We don't know what's wrong. There is nothing else that we can do. Now, when they called on Sunday, they had been calling my husband because he's the one that dropped her off and all that stuff. So when they called on Sunday, my husband was actually up speaking, right? I had his phone. And he said, and we remember we're 3 hours behind. So my husband said they will probably call when I'm up speaking. If they do, then you'll have my phone and you can just go out and take the call. Well, y'all, my husband was speaking. I was all in. I was trying to get me a word. The Lord was blessing, Holy Spirit dropping. Everything was happening. And my husband is speaking and he gives me a signal. He does his hand to his pocket to let me know, check the phone. And I'm like, I don't even hear a phone. So I go in my purse and I see his phone buzzing. So I go out to take the call. And so I'm the one that got the call with the vet, said, hey, things are not looking good. We have done all that we can do. There must be something secondary going on with her that we cannot figure out. And so I said, well, what are the options? She said, well, the options are she needs to be rushed to an emergency place for diagnostics to see if they can figure out what's wrong with her. But that's the best that we can do. Otherwise, I don't think that she's, going to make it. Y'all, it took everything in me. I'm trying to gather myself. My husband is speaking. I'm outside. I'm trying to keep it together. People are walking by. And my heart just sank. My heart just sank. And so I said, okay, first of all, remember, we're not there. Nobody is there. So to get her from this vet that we have her at to this specialty place is like an hour away. It's a holiday weekend. And she was like, do you know anybody who can come and get her to take her? So we're like in a catch-22. Nobody is available. And so my husband and I, well, let me back up. I said, I tell you what, I said, let me just take a moment. Let me figure out what we can do. And let my husband finish speaking. Let me talk to my husband, and then we'll kind of go from there. So my husband finishes speaking. I'm trying to get myself together. So my husband and I talk, and we're trying to come up with a game plan and a strategy. So anyway, in the meantime, the vet calls back, and she says, hey, what are you guys deciding? And we're kind of stuck. I'm like, we don't know what to do. She said, okay. She said, well, let me tell you this. If you switch her to the specialty facility, basically where you are, if she has Lyme disease and that's all that's wrong with her, maybe she just needs another blood transfusion. They could give her a blood transfusion. She could be fine. She said, but I don't think that that's all that it is. She said, but that is a possibility. The other thing is, if she has something secondary wrong with her, their diagnostic equipment will be able to hopefully figure it out, find out what's going on. And then at that time, you can see, is that treatable? Is it not? So basically, she said, it's a gamble. And so I said, well, what is the price tag? In terms of, she said, well, just her being there, the diagnostics and all of that is going to be upwards of $5,000. Y'all. Now, I know many of you have pets and you probably have been in a similar situation. And at that point, my heart sank because I'm thinking, $5,000. And you hate to put a value on your pet's life. But at the same time, this is just me and my journey and my story. I'm like, if I spend $5,000, I could get another dog for $5,000. And I'm like, do I have $5,000? I do, but it's not the best use. And I really need that $5,000, if that makes sense. So anyway, long story short, as we were thinking about it, talking about it, like we call family meeting, we talked to the kids, it just felt like it didn't make good sense for us to try and get her to this place, and it was a gamble, right? And so I said, I tell you what, so the other option was to just put her down. Now keep in mind, I'm in California. I haven't seen my dog since before I left. And at this point, we were not due back home for another 48 hours. The vet said, I don't think she's going to make it 48 hours. So we made the decision to have her put down the following morning. Because by this time, it's like late Monday afternoon, right? By this point. And so we made the decision as a family to put her down. But I asked the vet, I said, can we just wait till in the morning? Because I really don't want to put her down. Let's just see if something turns around, right? Let's just see if something happens, right? So the vet calls on Tuesday. And so she said, hey, we did not end up having to put her down. She actually passed away last night. So Sunica is gone. My heart is sad. So very sad. So very sad. It's something about closure and being able to say goodbye. And I really hate that when I left, she seemed to be doing fine, and I did not know that was going to be my last time seeing her. That's really, really tough. Really, really tough. Right? Would I feel better had I been able to say goodbye? I feel like I would. I feel like I would. But I didn't get that opportunity. And so we got back home 48 hours later. And y'all, getting out the car and not seeing my dog come up to greet me, and it was just Max, was just heartbreaking. And every time I come out to this backyard, I see both of those dog igloos beside each other. And she's not there. And every time I go outside to feed Max, it's just one bowl. It's just one giving her treats. None No more of them fighting who's gonna get the treat first. No more Sunica. You know, she's as sweet as pie, but she was very sweet as pie to me. Like she gonna bullguard her way. Like she was always gonna get the treat first. Like she always stepping in front of Max. Like always, like get back. Like just her sheer weight and her sheer size. But that dog followed me everywhere I went. And it's so funny how I was definitely afraid of dogs. And now I'm on a video crying about a dog 20 something years later. But anyway, that's all I can do today, y'all. That's all I can do today. I'm gonna get myself together. We're gonna be back gardening. It'll be just Max. Will we get another dog? Yes. Yes. I feel bad for Max. I feel like he's lonely. My husband's like, he knows she's not there, but dogs don't, they don't, you know, he's not missing her like that. I'm like, how you know? How you know? Here comes Max now. I know he's lonely. So are we gonna get another dog? The answer is yes. My dilemma is I want another Mastiff, but those are expensive. When we bought Sunica, I worked a real good high-paying corporate job. Them funds don't flow like they used to. Does that make sense? So I don't know what we're gonna do. I could get another dog just for Max to have a playmate, but I really want another Mastiff or some type of guardian dog, and all of those are going to be pricey. So I may have to save up and do that, just because, did I mention I got a kid in college and another kid, and let me not even run down all of what I got going on. All that to say is that you can have the money, but you got the money earmarked for something else, or you need to save it because of something else that's going on. That's the situation I'm in. Hey, Max. Hey, Max. You want to say hi? Here, say hi. Come here, Max. Come here. You miss Suni? You miss Sunica? You gonna stay with mommy? Oh, y'all. Okay, y'all, that's it. That's all I got. Say a prayer for me. I'm sure some of you have been through this before. And please, whatever you do, don't send me no hate emails about I should have spent $5,000 to save my dog. Please don't do that, okay? Because everybody's situation is different. Anyway, y'all, gardening is still a journey. This is part of it if you have animals, right? But we will continue to grow together. I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye for now.